Alright, this is Too Much Intimacy, episode 4, take...
2000.
Yes, I would take 1 infinity. Here we are.
Here we are.
We're putting ourselves really out there for you guys, in that we're not smoking any weed.
Mm-mm.
And I'm not even wearing any eye patches.
Any accoutrement of the face.
No accoutrements of the face. And
Accoutrement de face. That's not.
I don't know. This is an English language podcast.
Sorry, I got confused.
And what's going on with your appearance today, Phoebe? By the way, this is Jester and Phoebe's Too Much Intimacy. I'm Jester, she's Phoebe. This is Bubs, and you're about to see coming into the frame Little Miss Coyote.
Oh, I'm glad you found us. Yeah. You can find our podcast on Apple and Spotify.
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.
YouTube is the only place you can see our beautiful faces, though.
Actually, you can see the video in Spotify, I think.
Really?
Yeah,
But not an Apple?
not an Apple.
Wow, they're like
Apple's behind the
overachievers.
times.
I guess. I thought they were. Anyway. I thought they were the cutting edge.
No,
Not since Steve left.
not since Steve left us. Not since Mr. Jobs dropped his body, as they say.
Sir Jobs.
Mr. Jobs. Why do we always end up talking about billionaires?
I was just talking about Steve Jobs. I feel like Steve Jobs is one of those. I don't even think of him as like in the category of billionaires for some reason. I just feel like he was a creative genius.
Yeah.
I don't even know that much about Steve Jobs. There's probably a documentary about him that we should watch or something.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure there's a good documentary.
He just seemed like such a lovable guy.
Yeah.
He just like seemed like such a creative, like, pioneer nerd. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know why we're talking about Steve Jobs.
I don't either. We were trying to talk about our physical appearances.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's worth putting a nod to, but we're trying to break a cycle.
Trying to break the cycle, right? We've tried to record this 4th episode like 4 or 5 times now.
We hit a wall. We hit our first, like, real wall.
Yeah.
I don't know. We have some theories about what it could have been, but basically before we started recording the podcast, I ordered some wigs to, like, get all fun and, like, conceal my identity, but also, like, give me, like, freedom to have, like, different personas. Because I feel like my current visual persona is, like, pretty specific and not too flowy.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that when you have short hair. Anyway, the wigs got stuck in purgatory.
Yeah, they
came from China. They were here. They actually arrived very quickly, but then they were stuck and, like, lost for, like, a month.
hanging out in a post office somewhere.
Then the wigs came, and they are great.
Yeah.
I love the wigs, but
A lot of new personalities were discovered.
Yes.
Phoebe really grew a lot with the wigs.
But nobody would know because we tried to record like 5 times with the wigs and it wasn't working. So
Yeah.
we're going back to basics.
We're going back to the basics. We're bringing the crown back. I have kind of decided that I'm not crazy about the eye patch because it makes me feel like I am cut off from the camera.
Yeah.
Like, part of what we're doing, I think, is we want to connect to people. And, like, when this half of my face is covered and I'm, like, kind of looking at you, you can't see either of my eyes. And,
Right.
you know, eyes are the windows to the soul. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've heard that before, but eyes
So
are the
they
windows
say.
to the soul. Bubs, you getting a hug. He says, I don't mind. But I am definitely going to want to escape soon. He loves to be loved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is us, guys. Thanks for coming along. We're kind of figuring out how to be on the internet, how to be in public, how to be on camera, how to
Yeah.
be, you know, ourselves, but I don't know, like ourselves.
It's a big question. I kind of feel like, kind of reminds me of like being in like the 5th grade. Or
Yeah.
like, yeah. Or like the transition from 5th grade to 6th grade, like when you go from elementary school to middle school. And I remember like in 5th grade, I had an awareness of like, oh, there's like different types of people out there, and there's like social dynamics and like social hierarchies, and like, you know, you start to just like notice these things, like the kind of like power exchange
Yeah.
in a way of like social interaction,
Mm.
and kind of how people's like personalities and personas like play into that dynamic.
Right.
And I don't know, I'm sure like a lot of like females have this experience of like kind of around the time you hit puberty and you start to like look at different adults in the world and be like in awe of kind of like how strong of like beingness they have. And then being like, oh, like, what am I? You know, am I
Right.
this? Am I that? And you kind of like, it's that awkward, like, puberty phase of like, you try on things. Like, you know, when you see like a young person kind of like wearing like makeup for the first time, and it's like
Right.
such a like weird, like, I don't know, it's such a like tender, strange, like special thing.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like we're in that phase. Like, we're trying to find ourselves and like how it feels true to us to express ourselves.
Yeah, we're definitely in like a transition phase in life in general. You know,
Yeah.
we were kind of, well, we've been since we got married, like almost a year and a half ago. We were kind of in the honeymoon phase. We were doing what was called 20s revival, where we were having all sorts of fun, and we're like, all right, this can only last so long.
Which I
but-
feel like 20s revival is kind of like, I don't know, there's like a lot of stuff you put off when you feel like you're starting what society considers your like adult life.
Right.
Right? Like, I don't know. Marriage wasn't really like a huge thing for us when we
Yeah.
started dating, but then we like realized we wanted to buy a house, and we were like, oh, do we have the money to buy a house? And we're like, well, we know like if we got married, like our parents would give us money.
Yeah.
And, you know, I heard that like you can get some like tax breaks when you get married.
Yeah.
And so we're like, you know, maybe marriage is like not such a bad idea. And then we're like, we're not going to have a wedding. Like,
We're gonna just
we
do
don't-
something small.
we're just going to like go to the courthouse and spend the money on like a house project. And
Yeah.
but then I kind of like, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, well, you know, if we're like merging families.
We should put them all in the same room together once at least.
Yeah, I definitely got taken by the like romantic idea of
We
like,
did.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen my older sister got married like when she was really young, so I've seen like the merging of families kind of happen, and
Yeah.
I was like, you know, like it is good that we got to know like the in-laws.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say his name. In-laws family.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know. I just those not like those like sentimental things that like had previously seemed like so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
They started to like feel kind of like, oh, maybe that would be nice.
Kind of important. It was also hard to like. We were like, okay, small, inexpensive wedding. When we finally decided we were going to do a wedding, can we keep it to 30 people? And then it was like, okay, well, that's kind of unrealistic.
Well, we
just,
could
like,
have we could have done it, but it would have just been a different wedding.
It would have been a very different
It
wedding.
would have been pretty much only family and like
Yeah.
a couple, like
a couple
two friends,
close friends. And
each.
then we were like, oh, why are we doing this? Like, are we doing this for ourselves, or are we doing this for like the family? You know, like, are we doing this so that they will approve of our relationship and help us put a down payment down on the house?
I mean, I would be lying if it wasn't partially
That was definitely part of it.
Yeah.
But then we were like, oh, we want this to be, if we're going to do this, we want this to be fun. And if we don't invite, not that our family members aren't fun, our family members are plenty of fun, but if you only have family and you don't like invite the friends that you know are gonna like really enjoy the party part of it, then it was like,
You want your pack of
you
weirdos.
want your pack of weirdos. So it was really fun. And then, so at first we tried to do no wedding, and then we basically did an off-Broadway show because we decided we were going to do this for us. And
We can't do it. We really, I don't know.
what?
I feel like we can't do small things sometimes.
We
Like I
can't.
try to do small things and like
Everything gets big.
I just can't express in a small way sometimes.
Yeah, you have a big vision. We
I
both
have a
see
big
like
vision.
grand things,
Look at this muffin.
Yeah, she's perfect. She's a good girl.
Yeah.
She loves to be in Dad's lap when the podcast is recording.
We love you so much.
She says I'm a dark kitten, and you're wearing dark pants, and nobody will even see me unless they look real close. Yeah, so we turned our wedding into like an off-Broadway show where we did a
commitment experience.
yeah, it was called the Commitment Experience, and we had a puppet show. We started the wedding with a puppet show.
Well, it had a loose framework of a traditional wedding. So
Yeah.
we did have a ceremony. We did exchange vows.
Mm-hmm.
We did have dinner and we did have dancing.
Yeah.
And we did have like a cocktail hour, but kind of within those things were like peppered surprises.
Yeah,
and
we
like
did some surprise. We played some pranks on the audience.
mystery. We had our two of our best friends host the wedding. I was like envisioning it would be kind of like the Oscars where you have like two hosts who like lead you through the show.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had surprise bits.
Yeah. We basically scripted the whole wedding. We did all the things, and then my favorite bit was we did a little bit around the like, does anyone have a objection to this union? And we had planted 3 of my actor friends in the audience, and the first one said, does anybody object to this, union? And she gets up and she says, I object. I'm Jester's true love, and and I'm like, what? So we had like one of my friends be the crazy ex, and then the other one was like, I object. Phoebe, I don't know if you remember, but we went on one OkCupid date, 10 years ago, and I just thought you were really cool.
Yeah.
And then the third.
Yeah, it was good. People were
really,
people were genuinely surprised. Like I think that some people's faces were like truly like they were like worried, like they didn't understand what was going on at first, which was perfect.
Yeah.
I'm just so glad we got to do that because
it was so fun.
You have so many incredibly talented, funny friends.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get our whole family together without like just needing to like fuck with them a little bit.
Yeah, we had to mess with them a little bit.
In like a loving way, but like come on, like all this money is being spent and like we want to do it our way.
Yeah.
This is like it's one of those rare times in your life where like you get to do whatever you want. Like that TV show Bridezilla.
Mm-hmm.
Where like these obviously I didn't want to be a bridezilla. I don't think I was.
You were fine.
But like you get permission to basically do whatever you want. And like if I'm going to have those moments in my life, I'm going to fucking milk it for all it's worth.
Yeah. For me, it wasn't about like doing whatever I wanted. It was about doing whatever you wanted. No, it was about just it was making a special moment, like a recognition of like, okay, something is changing. We're not just signing documents and like letting the government know we're like partnered. It was like we said, it was like bringing all the families together, like the really important friends together. We still had like probably 80 people. Was it like, and landed around 70 or 80?
I think it was like 65.
65. We invited 8. That's right. We invited 80, and I think 65 showed up, which is pretty good. I also got COVID on the morning of the wedding. That was fun.
I don't know if we should talk about that.
Why?
I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so we had like a bachelorette party at our house on, must have been Thursday. The wedding was on Saturday, so we had the party on Thursday. And then I was real hungover on Friday, you know. And I was just like, okay. And then Friday was the day we had like the rehearsal, we had the rehearsal dinner, we had a couple other, you know, it was, oh, we also had,
it was just 3 days of madness.
it was 3 days of madness. We even had like the open house where my aunts and uncles came and saw our house. And I was just like pulling myself through. I was just exhausted, you know, running on fumes because I, you know, partied like a crazy person the night before. And so I woke up Saturday morning and was still feeling ill. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm fine. This is just, I
No,
can
I
power
mean,
through.
that
But
morning I looked at your face and I was like, I could tell.
yeah.
Your coloring was off. I was like, oh no.
And I was like, I know my body, babe. This isn't COVID. It's fine. I'll take a test. Just if it's going to make you feel better, I'll take a test.
Well, I had to come up with a plan because it wasn't like immediate COVID era, but it was like post-COVID.
It was close enough.
It was close enough where like if somebody comes to like a gathering and they're like visibly sick, like you want to know.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, like you want to be able to say like, oh, just so you know, like we took a test and it's not COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
Just so people can be at ease, or so like, I don't know.
Yeah. And so I took a test feeling 100% confident it wasn't going to be COVID. I did a little thing, I put it out, and I hopped in the shower, and I came out of the shower. You know, it takes like 15 minutes to, you know, to give you the signal. And I came out of the shower, and I was like, oh, how do we do it? And I said just the little shadow of the pink line, and I'm like, no way. And I was in denial. I was like, we got to get this.
You were in
denial. False reading. I had my friend go out and get me another test.
You're like, we need another test. He's like, what?
Yeah, it was, and then we were like freaking out. We're like, what do we do? The wedding was it was a summer wedding, so it was basically entirely outdoors.
Yeah, but this was also happening like 2 hours before we were supposed to go.
Yeah.
To the space to start setting up.
Yeah. We were having a genuine freak out. And so we're like, what do we do? So we sent out like a mass email just being like, by the way, the groom has COVID. You know, God. I wore a mask for a good chunk of it. But then it was like, come on, when you're doing the vows, you can't be hidden behind a mask. So
I will say, babe, in retrospect, I kind of wish. Also, I mean, it's easy to say now though because literally nobody else got COVID.
Not a single person
Nobody else
got COVID.
tested positive, and like a bunch of people took tests. Nobody else tested positive for COVID or even like had symptoms of COVID.
Nobody.
It was only you.
It was just me. It was a terrible prank by the universe.
So knowing that, I kind of wish that we just hadn't.
I kind of wish we had just ignored it.
You and me had just like had a huddle and been like, it's fine.
That's what I would have done.
I don't know. It's hard though when you're like maybe somebody could be immunocompromised or they could be staying with someone who is.
Which there definitely were people that would be immunocompromised. There were older people with.
Whatever. So we did the right thing.
We did what we thought was the right thing. One couple didn't come to the wedding because she was a teacher and she was like, "Oh, I'm about to go back to school and I can't go." And I was like, "All right, that's fair. It sucks, but that's fair." And a couple people like kind of just kept their distance but it was still really fun. It was still an excellent wedding. People still tell me that it's the best wedding they've ever been to.
Yeah.
So.
It was a good one.
It was a good one.
Why were we were talking about the wedding because we were talking about 20s revival.
20s revival, yeah.
So with the wedding, you kind of have like this year since you like announce you're engaged. You kind of have this year of like planning the wedding. Right? And then it's like all other things in your mind are like you just don't think about it. Everyone gives you this like glorious pass. Mm-hmm. This like golden ticket of like, oh, I'm planning a wedding. Yeah, so like this is my main focus. Like if you got to drop the ball on other stuff, they're like, oh, totally cool.
They're planning a wedding.
I'm like, yeah. But then after the wedding, it's like, okay, these other things that maybe you like know you should start thinking about soon, they start cropping up.
Yeah.
So
Such
such as having children.
such as having children.
Well, especially when you
Sorry,
get married when
Kyle.
you're 33
Yeah.
years old or whatever I was.
Yeah, we thought that you guys would be enough, but it turns out we might still have that biological urge.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I've had a pretty demanding job situation for like many years, and
Yeah.
things kind of finally started to settle down. Like during the wedding time, I got a business partner. Things like got a little calmer, and we just decided, let's take a year to
Just enjoy it.
let's just do all the fucking drugs,
Do all the
that
drugs.
we have access to and want to do, and
Travel as much as we can afford to.
yeah, just have like a
Have a
year
good
focused
time.
on fun,
Yeah.
which I had never done, or like I feel like I haven't done since I was like 18.
Yeah.
So
I don't think I ever did it like consciously.
Yeah.
Bubs is about to go back to his spot. Hopefully
Yeah.
he doesn't. Oh, good job. That was a very graceful Bubs. Good job, buddy. So yeah, we said we were gonna do a year of that, and that was a year and what, 4 months ago.
Something
So
like
we've
that.
been knowing that that it's coming, and now we're like, oh, we're gonna have to.
How do you, but then, like,
Sober
how
up.
do you transition?
So we're doing a podcast.
I want, I guess, I don't, like, does that make sense logically? Does that make sense to you
Yeah,
logically?
it does. It's like we need something to keep the spice, to keep life interesting, you know? And maybe we're not quite ready to have kids yet, but maybe we can give birth to a podcast. And I mean, for both of us, we're entrepreneurs, like, so we have an interest in learning how to build an audience and being online. I used to be an actor, so it's, it just seemed, kind of natural. And then we had so many ideas about I had so many ideas about what to do. And then finally one kind of caught you. And here we are trying to figure out how to present our life to people online.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like, to me, I think what's interesting about this, what we're doing here, is it just feels a little bit like a social experiment.
Mm-hmm.
I think, like, one of my formative experiences online in the last couple years was doing group therapy.
Mm.
When I was in the queer mindfulness group.
Yeah.
Which is a whole other discussion that I don't think we should get into right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was something like so incredible about it, like exploring the dynamic of social engagement and being seen.
Mm-hmm.
Being seen and like experiencing silence, listening, sharing, and like there was a lot of like being in the silence, which was like I don't know, it felt like kind of a radical thing.
It is.
Because we're really socialized out of these quiet moments where like you just run out of things to talk about. And like, sure, you can like do the easy thing. Or
talk
like
about the weather.
What feels easy for most of us was just like, oh, just start talking, sharing my inner thoughts. Or like if there's nothing that really feels like genuine or that you like actually really want to share, you just like sitting together in the silence. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Not that this is about this, because you told me that when we started this podcast, you told me, I think you like wanted to give me a limit for like how long I could be quiet. In like a silent, like a max length for how long a lull could be.
I mean, I think if we do an intentional, like, we're still finding the tone. I think I was more worried that like I'm gonna do most of the talking lifting because I'm a little more outgoing than you.
Right.
But I don't think that's not the case this episode. I think you're carrying more than your fair share.
All right.
I do think that we should have a little moment of quiet with the audience.
You do?
Yeah,
You think that's a good idea?
I think so. Let's look right into the camera and be like, hey guys,
From here?
it's quiet time. Yeah, from here,
Right now.
right now. I really liked that.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah, I wasn't trying to do like 5 minutes. It was what, 5 seconds?
Just enough to like make people
Just a little uncomfortable.
look just look deeply at their souls and
Yeah,
shudder
just-
and look away.
Exactly. Yeah, shudder and look away. Go back to looking at this hot married couple.
Oh my god.
We've been putting in the episode descriptions like that we're a hot stoner couple,
Yeah.
but this time there's no marijuana. So if we,
I think we're still stoners. I think like you took a weed edible earlier.
worn off
I
by
haven't
now.
smoked since last night. I don't know
Yeah.
if that short of a period of sobriety makes us not stoners.
yeah, well, it's just there's no marijuana directly involved in this episode. But I have kind of made a decision based on the game Leela,
Oh yeah.
our like fairy godmother,
Very, very dear friend.
very dear friend.
Family friend.
She is trained, or I don't know all the story, but there's this game called Leela. It's an ancient.
Well, she is
Indian
an
game.
actual like practicing psychotherapist.
Yeah.
But she decided to get trained in this game, this ancient game, which I think you asked her what time when
Where
it was
from.
created, and she was like, nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
And Leela, is that in Sanskrit?
I think it's Sanskrit. Yeah.
I don't even actually know what it means, though.
I thought it was just her name. The name of the game. The name of the like.
The name of
the
this, like,
spirit of the game.
the female spirit that
Yeah.
you call in when you play the game.
Yeah. So there was this big mat with 8x9 squares. So 72 squares, and there's a woman sitting in the middle of it. Excuse me. And she's like in meditation form, and she's like a beautiful young woman who's naked except for the hair is covering her breasts, and there's a conveniently located lotus flower or whatever. And each square has like a little I guess a little message, and there's also snakes and arrows through the square. It's
And
kinda like
also,
Chutes and
so
Ladders
she's in the center, and there's like a thing
for each chakra.
for each chakra. So like there's the squares that overlay over the chakras
Mm-hmm.
are like that's what the meaning is of like landing on that square.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like a path to. It shows different lessons to learn and different connections. Like, if you land on the head of a snake, you have to go down. So you're kind of
Well,
like working your way up to enlightenment.
Yeah, but can we describe like how you start the game?
Yes, that's right.
So you start the game by whoever's playing, they have a question to ask Leela.
Mm-hmm.
And you ask the question out loud and you roll the dice. But apparently the question is not like the actual question to use to start the game until you roll a 6.
Yeah.
So you rolled a 6 right away.
Yeah, exactly. I asked a question.
So your question was right
my
on
quote
with
was right
your
on.
soul. Leela was like, okay, your question's approved. Let's go. We're going to answer this question
Yeah.
through this game.
So I started climbing the chart.
And me, no. I was feeling shaky from the start, though.
I could tell you were feeling shaky.
I was like feeling uncomfortable that like you have to ask your question out loud.
Yeah.
Even though these are our closest people, it's like a very personal thing to be like, what is the deepest thing on your mind that you want to ask a question to this like divine being right now?
I could tell you were being very like a little like you were trying not to take it too seriously. If it seemed to me like a couple of the questions you were just like, are we gonna do this kids thing or whatever? Like you were just you were doing something to protect yourself. I think you didn't want to take it seriously.
Oh, interesting.
Which is so interesting because when we first met, you were so much
I was
about
the
going
most. I was the
deep,
most serious.
super spiritual stuff, and you've kind of done a like a 180.
Well, we've just swapped. I feel like we've swapped places.
Yeah, I mean,
You're like want to become a Hare Krishna guy now, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. We could do that, but like, whatever.
yeah, yeah, but you like complete opposite, and you've like really shied away from that stuff.
Yeah, a
I
little
think you
bit.
just like did it really intensely, and it was. You
I
needed
went. I went
stabilize
to
a
the
bit.
full. I went to the max for like 5 years, and then I was like, all right, it's time to like experience the other side.
Yeah, but I think there's just like something. I think there's something about us, about each of us individually and as a couple, that like craves spirituality.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like spirituality for me is like how we cope with the unknown. You know, the big questions that we don't know the answers to, like what's the purpose of life, and you know all this. And you know, we live in a world that's very focused on commerce and science and, you know, solid results that tries to explain everything and make sense of everything. And yeah, our science is teaching us many new things that we didn't know before. But I kind of have this belief that there will always be questions that cannot be answered.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what happens when we die? And we have to turn to some sort of spirituality or just ignore those questions, find a way to ignore those questions. And I can't, you know, for me, I'm like, I grew up in a religion that was very, you know, interested in the end times and all this. And I've just like, so it kind of just like got baked into my consciousness that these are questions that are being asked and should be asked and have deep meaning. And so I've been finding myself more and more like craving that kind of interaction, that kind of community, that kind of, you know, that kind of existence.
Yeah. You really loved it. You really loved the game.
I love the game.
I mean, it's
it's
a perfect combination of things for you right now because you're really into games, like game creation and like the spiritual aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah, when she told us what it was, I was like, yes.
So I think we should talk about it a little bit. Like, so I was trying to roll.
Right.
My question was not like good. My question was not like true.
Yeah.
Like Leela knew and was like, fuck that. No, try again.
Yeah.
And then
and your question started kind of going all over the place. It was
I
like,
was like, I felt like I was really on the spot. There's 3 other people in the room watching me. I'm rolling, not getting any 6s.
Yeah.
They're getting low numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got encouraged to just go 3 times fast in a row. And then the third one, I actually started to feel before I finally rolled a 6 because I've been like really emotional lately. And I was like, if I, inside, I was like, if I don't fucking roll a 6 soon, like I might start crying.
Mm-hmm.
Like this might be one of those moments. Yeah. I did not want to have one of those moments.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then I was like, I just want to move my fucking purple piece. And I rolled the dice, and then I got a 6. So I guess she was like, she was like, all right.
And
she knew I didn't really want it before.
Exactly, and it was.
And then
really
when I was like,
just
let me move.
How do I move this fucking purple piece on the board?
So wait, I have a question. So okay, is it okay if we talk about your question?
Sure, yeah.
So your question was what? It was about how do I
find contentment?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
And when you went first,
when
you asked that question, I was like, that's a great question. Like, I kind of want that same question because
Yeah.
I feel like a little stagnant. I feel like
I'm
to copy spinning a little bit.
Yeah.
Leela didn't like that. But then, so my question for you, so we made it through the whole game, okay?
Well, I thought it was very interesting that, like, I started off first, and then like you immediately caught up to me and passed me and went to the like enlightenment spot while I was
So the
just
way that
toiling in these
so the way that
cycles.
it works is as soon as you roll a 6, you start going, but you take turns. So like meanwhile, I try to roll and I'm not getting shit. Then Michael takes a turn. He's moving along. He's like learning stuff. His soul is like
I'm sliding down snakes and jumping up arrows,
he's
touching
like getting stuck.
chakra
Wait, you were
spots.
like getting stuck in like what
That
was
was
number 8? You kept getting stuck in
I think it was
dissatisfaction.
dissatisfaction.
You
Yeah.
kept getting stuck in dissatisfaction, and I'm like, I haven't even started the game. I haven't even been born yet.
Yeah.
But do you think, okay, because there's also like they were saying that there's like a connection. We played the game together. We're a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that there's a connection between my question and your question? Because my question was like not even a question really. You know what I mean? It was like not about a thing specific to my life. I mean, I guess if you look at it in like everything is everything kind of microcosm than it is, but literally my question was like,
How do I get this fucking piece on the board?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that you resonated with my question really well made it, you know, like I think there are obviously lessons to be learned across
Right.
boards. And, you know, we ended up on that dissatisfaction piece at the same time,
Yeah.
you know, so
I went right after you.
you went right after me. So
Yeah.
I think there was definitely connections. I'm curious to see, like, what do you think Leela was telling you when you, like, when you finally got the question and, like, so then you got the question was like, how do I get this fucking piece on the board? And then you went through the whole game, and the whole game is supposedly answering that question. So, like, how are you applying that to your life?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or are you just saying, like, this was just not, you know?
No, that's a good question. I feel like, well, the thing that like it made me think of was some statement, I don't know, some like famous thing that people say, which is like the way you do one thing is the way you do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I really believe that that's true.
Mm.
And sorry, maybe you had a really rough go around in the game. Sorry, I don't know why you made that face.
What?
Never mind. Scrap what I said.
I'm just looking at Coyote.
So the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So I've seen that pattern a lot in myself and in my life. And I think that sometimes I can get stuck. I think sometimes that I can get stuck in the question asking. And sometimes I can kind of go into a spiral of like how to kind of like get at it through the right angle. But I almost feel like sometimes it's not even about the question or about getting into it at the just the right angle. It's like I kind of feel like for me it's about like timing and like right place, right time. Like I feel like I don't even always have control over when like the good things happen to me. Like obviously I'm like trying every day and I'm putting in the work and I'm like doing what I need to do. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess that was a long-winded way of saying I don't
You're not
really
sure?
know. I'm not really sure. No.
I don't know is the best answer. Because, like, honestly, who actually knows anything? You know? Like, that's kind of my attraction to spirituality is, if we're trying to answer the unknown questions, there's always going to be uncertainty. And if, you know, someone's trying to convince you that their way is definitely the truth, it's just like, all right, I'm going to be a little skeptical of that person. You know?
Yeah.
What are you trying to manipulate? What are you trying to get from me?
Yeah, well, I think there was a really beautiful message for each of us in the way that we completed the game. Which was like, so if you looked at my path, so I wrote down like what my path was, right? I didn't even have that many moves.
Right.
So it was like, I'm born, I go to entertainment, which is like this like joyful,
lightness,
light place, like purely like for my own pleasure. And then I go to dissatisfaction, right?
Yeah, hang out there with me for a little while.
I get stuck in dissatisfaction for a turn. And then I start And then my way forward to like where I moved towards enlightenment was, oh fuck. I knew I was thinking earlier that I wanted to bring my papers.
I know,
here.
we should have brought our notes.
But
Oops.
my way to enlightenment, it was through, not vocation, but it was through purpose.
Yeah.
So it was like you're finding your true purpose in life, which is not necessarily work. It's kind of like what you're here to do, which I kind of feel like I kind of know-ish what I'm here to do. Like, it's not like a specific thing, but it's like a pattern, I think, that I see in me and in my life.
What's the pattern?
I'm like deciding if I just want to like share it. I feel like the pattern is, I feel like I hold a lot of contrasts in me. What's the word? Opposite, bipolar.
Dualities.
No, dualities.
Yeah.
Binaries. I feel like I hold a lot of binaries in me.
Yeah.
So like I am a like extreme perfectionist. I'm obsessed with beauty, doing things in the perfect way. Like I know because of my job the way to like build things like homes in the most perfect beautiful way, like in the old, to me, what to me is the most perfect beautiful way, which is in the old way, the way that and in a way that is connected with nature. So it's like the old way that like things are built to last, and they're built with care and with like real like natural raw materials, but also with like the current knowledge of technology, so that they're sustainable, but also doing it with the land, you know, doing everything kind of just like in harmony with nature. So like I have this kind of like ideal picture in my mind of how to do things, but I also understand that like striving for that level of perfection in every aspect of your life is just, because I've tried it many times, is like exhausting. It's not sustainable. It's actually not a natural way of doing things. Like nature is much more like fluid and soft.
Right. Yeah.
And so I feel like part of what I'm here to do is to build bridges between these things that I feel excited and passionate about that are like so opposite from each other.
Yeah.
And so like I see that in our life, in like the people that we're friends with, the things that we're interested in, even like visually the things that I'm interested in. Like love like old castles, like hundreds of years old. Like I feel like in a past life I was like definitely royalty. Like I fucking know the good shit.
She's wearing the crown.
I know. I know the good shit. But then at the same time, like one of my first projects, like one of my first big design projects, it was like in an area that like is kind of like historically like a trash land, like very industrial, this name like Williamsburg, Brooklyn.
Right.
It's a very industrial, like very poor area. Like people did live there, but like not a safe place, not a place where people strive to live. But it was like up and coming. And so in my mind, the way to kind of bridge that gap is like see the beauty in the trash, you know? Like if you look at like
history.
Yeah, or like you know, we're in America, so like if you look at like trailer trash, kind of like Americana, like there is like an inherent beauty there, and like the beauty of contrast, you know, of like nature. Like I'm just imagining like a beautiful trailer, like it's like nature, it's like grass, wild, and like this kind of like tinny cheap structure, you know. There's like maybe like a 1950s like lawn chair, like plastic lawn chair furniture that's like cute but like very tacky, and so like finding the beauty there. And so I feel like kind of this great struggle of my life is to build the bridge between these things, because I don't want to isolate myself. I mean, first of all, I don't have the like financial means of like
living in a castle.
We live in a fucking castle land, like everything is beautiful. Like I would love that, but like it's just not realistic, I think.
Yeah.
Right. It's not, I don't feel like that's our path.
Right.
I grew up in like what felt like a soulless kind of like
Suburb, yeah.
soulless suburban land, and so like I feel like my path is to bridge those things of like this great thing
Yeah.
of like the castle and then like the suburban like trash land where I grew
Yeah.
up. I mean, I shouldn't say trash land because
You're-
it was a
yeah.
very nice neighborhood, but like from a design perspective, like it's like
wasn't.
mass produced kind
Yeah.
of like 80s thing.
Yeah. You're bringing the, like, it feels kind of a little bit, and the way you're describing it now is like you want to bring the royal touch to the people, you know? Like everybody deserves to have a beautiful home, you know, that pays attention to all the details, that isn't like just this mass produced, like, you know,
Yeah.
like capitalism shitting out
Yeah.
houses.
I mean, I think that like beauty should be accessible to everyone, and I think that it's like a way of like a coronation in a way.
That's right. That's
You
why we're
know?
letting you freaks watch us on camera, because beauty should be accessible to everyone.
Oh my god.
And we know we're hot shit.
Hopefully you do if you're watching this.
Mm-hmm. You just wait until we get the wigs.
Oh my god.
And
We're
we
not-
start doing costumes.
Costumes?
Yeah. Well, not costumes, just when my accoutrement gets all ready.
Accoutrement.
Accoutrement.
De visage.
De visage. Bubs, how come you didn't stay? He's watching the camera.
He's behind.
He's behind the
You
camera right now.
you said last time we set this up that Bubs is the grip.
Bubs is the
He
grip.
was- He's the one
big
who holds
beefy
the light.
grip,
He's
yeah.
he's sitting between the two lights right now.
He is. And Coyote right here, she's art department. She says, I'm going to come, I'm going to sit in, and I'm going to make the frame look beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, just you are.
They're
Do you
good.
want to get all up in their faces?
I do, but I feel like but first I feel like I went on like this whole tangent. Did we even like wrap up our Leela's conversation?
Oh, there's conversations are never wrapped up. This is the thing about humanity, is like we try to build ourselves narrative and structure because we want there to be a beginning, middle, and end. But there's just not. There's just infinity of time and space.
Okay, well, I think something that I want to say, talking about bridge building.
Mm-hmm.
I hear what you're saying, babe, but I'm a host at heart.
Yeah,
We're hosting these people,
that's true.
and I want to give them a good experience. This is not like sex with that guy from OkCupid that doesn't somehow like understand how like a vagina works, and like, you know, you try to put something in a
Yeah.
place that's not ready, that's maybe not like lubed up yet. Like, we're
No,
not doing that.
We're trying to give you a nice, intimate experience.
We're tr-
Possibly too much intimacy.
We're trying to lube these people up.
We're trying to lube you up. We're trying to get you warm and happy, a little toasty.
With coconut oil too, the organic stuff, not that synthetic shit.
Yeah, exactly. We're not using KY. All right, we're using the
We
good
don't use
stuff.
that shit anymore.
No. So you want to put a little bow on what we were talking about.
I want to try to put a bow on it. So I think that maybe that's like a task that we're also trying to do with this podcast.
Is-
It's like, I feel like in a way putting a camera on things and putting them out there for people to see, and us putting our love and care on them
Yeah.
in the edit and in the artwork and in the fucking captions that I don't even know if anyone reads. You know,
We're gonna do a better job with the captions this time. I think it won't be.
No, I think I feel like we care about the I feel like we've cared about the captions.
Yeah, but I know how we can make them better.
Okay. Anyway,
Anyway.
they'll give them even more love.
Yeah.
I think that us putting that camera on us, I think we're trying to coordinate ourselves in a way and say that what we have to say is important, because I do feel
Yeah.
like you and I both hold like a really unique perspective on
Yeah.
the world, and like a radical love for the world in all of
It's
its
true.
like disgustingness and like greediness
Mhm.
and tenderness.
Yeah, it's really true. I'm glad that you remind us of that, because I'm kind of, I'm not feeling super magical right now, but
Yeah.
I've had multiple people over the past little while be like, hey, you've got something to say. You've got a perspective. Like, you should be putting yourself out there.
Yeah, I want to remind you. So we saw our friend today. So you have a Substack that you recently committed to publishing on more often.
Yeah.
And you've been doing an awesome job.
Yeah.
And you even said, I think the last time you published it, you're like, it's like a sci-fi thing, and you're like, I don't even know if anyone's reading this. You posted a story on your Instagram about it. I don't know if anyone liked it, and you're like,
not getting that positive feedback.
You weren't getting that positive feedback,
desperately require.
But guess what? Today we met up with our friend whose partner is like
a published author.
Not just a published author.
A very talented writer.
Like
He's a wordsmith.
An incredible wordsmith.
Yeah.
Very soulful.
Yeah.
Person who gave such a high compliment to your Substack.
Yeah.
And
apparently he sent our friend the story unprompted. Like, he's a subscriber, and he sent it to her before she could even read it herself.
It's such a beautiful thing. To be honest, even if only he was the one reading it, I would say you just fucking do that.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
It's awesome. You never know.
It is cool.
You never know.
Yeah, so thank you to my one reader.
I'm also a reader.
Yeah, you're a good kitten.
Yeah.
Shall we?
Yeah, we'll say good. We'll
say
good night.
Say good night to all the perverts and pervettes and all the pervs in between. Oh, we didn't. Sorry, Muff.
You're a good girl.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Nighty night. Hope you enjoyed this 4th episode.
Yeah.
Apologies
that
for
it took so long.
Apologies for the delay.
Yeah, if you guys get behind the paywall, which we haven't set up and probably never will, we'll put all the aborted drafts up.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I don't think we'll do that, but you might get a couple of aborts.
Might get a couple abortions.
All right, enough.
Okay. All right, you got to give us our...
Okay, our sign-off is...
Sign off.
Our sign-off is... Lose your crown and twitch your nostrils and smooch someone. Okay. Smooch anyone.
That's right. You heard it first. Lose your crown, flare your nostrils, and smooch someone. And tune in next time for Jester and Phoebe's Too Much Intimacy. Thanks for giving us your ear holes.
Night night.